Thanks for coming all the way from Adelaide to do this.
Oh man, honestly, the plane ride for this, that's why I'm here.
How's everything been going? Talk to me about Jack and what's in store for the year.
Yeah, good. Yeah, Jack is he was on a bit of a hiatus last year because moving to Adelaide took, I think, a lot more time than than I thought it would. But good, yeah. We're excited for a really big year of just breaking some doors down. I think I've already got an expo lined up to perform for 2 days, which is fantastic. So it's the Disability Expo for kids, youth, and young people, I think it's called. And yeah, which is going to be amazing because I've done Coeliac Australia Expo in Melbourne a couple years ago, and it was fantastic. It was great to sort of be in front of Coeliac Australia because they're a pretty big foundation for, celiac disease and research and all of this stuff and support. And it was great to sort of be in front of them and be in the room and with them. And I think they really saw the value of Jack the Silly-Yak and what I was doing, which was fantastic. So sort of like weaseling my way in there, which has been really great. But for this one, it's going to be an expo of kids and people who are experiencing all kinds of illnesses and disabilities, which is ultimately the end goal for Jack, to be representing, chronic illnesses, any chronic illness that a kid kind of lives with, to have a character for that. So this will be really cool to show that value, that it's more than celiac disease. Like, that's what we're focusing on first because it's a more attainable thing to sort of talk about. And I personally think the numbers of people with celiac disease is growing, which is ridiculous. No facts to back that up at all, but it's just from what I've experienced. And yeah, to perform in front of kids and hopefully just get more people knowing about what I'm doing and Jack and the importance of it. So
Do you want to talk about the motivation, how it all come about?
Absolutely, yeah. So I myself have 3 chronic illnesses, and I was diagnosed when I was 13, and I grew up with very supportive parents, and personally, my medical team was amazing and still is amazing. But there was no representation. Like, I don't think I found anyone with my specific illnesses, and I have like a wacky combination. So I don't think there's many people out there with specifically what I have. But I didn't really find anyone until I think I was in uni, and it was this girl who lives with cystic fibrosis over in the States. And she was just talking about how she would live her life with this chronic illness, and cystic fibrosis is super intense and it really reduces people's lives, which is awful. And I'm very fortunate that mine aren't like that because of the way we've managed them. But there was no representation for a teenager. There were no like books or characters, and especially for kids who are, going through primary school or even younger, who really have no idea what they're doing. And they're kind of the years where you're setting yourself up for success. Like, it's the first few years of your life where you gain those skills and that knowledge of trust and building who you are. Like, you're watching your parents, you're watching like TV shows. That's where you're gaining a lot of that, like the base knowledge that kind of sets up your life. There's not any of that. And so I grew up with a very supportive like environment of do what you want. Like, your illnesses don't restrict you. And I had one doctor when I was very unwell say, as I was coming out of like a routine just biopsy surgery, said to my mum, Alex has to realize that she's sick. She can't do everything that she wants. And mum, being the strong woman that she is, was like, you never say that in front of my daughter. And I have always had the belief that I can do whatever I want. Sure, I have restrictions, but I feel like everyone has some form of restriction on what they can and can't do based on background, financial situation or whatever it is. So I guess that's kind of where it came out of. Like, Jack himself came out of a university assignment that I decided to do in my final year of it being a design course to fill up units and whatever. And I was not great. It was definitely a learning experience. And I remember the tutor at one point being like, "Are you sure you should be here?" But I pushed through, and I love to find a new experience and really just kind of launch myself at it and be like, well, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And things usually turn out pretty good, which I'm grateful for. But he kind of came out of that. And I remember when I first made him, he was sort of like a one and done creation. And anytime I like write a song or do anything, when I sort of get to do it and the song's done or the creation's done, and I'm like, oh, this is something. Like when it just happens so naturally, I know it's going to be good. And then that is proven by people connecting with it. And I was like, okay, sweet, I'll table that and I'll work in that later. And then 2020 came around, and before we knew what that year was going to be, I knew I wanted to work on this book. I wanted to create this and do it better and do it properly. Fortunate in a way to have lots of downtime that year to really pump it out. And I wrote and illustrated the book and co-published with a place up in Brizzy, and it kind of just happened. And then I got a small grant to do a launch, and he's just been growing from there. And I think I work with sick kids in hospital in a performance capacity, and being able to be in a position to just empower these kids to just, you don't have to be as restricted, and life can be really fulfilling and really exciting. Yeah, you have a chronic illness. That is hard. There's going to be hardships and things that you're going to experience that nobody else will, no one else will understand. But there's ways to manage it. So you can have a full, exciting life. You can do whatever you want. Let's just show you a fun way to manage it so you don't have to be restricted. So yeah, I think it came from my own experience and how valuable I found the encouragement to, if you want to be a big time actor, go for it. Like my parents were always like, we're not going to stop you from it. And we want you to get to a point in your life to not be like 30 and go, why didn't you support me in this crazy dream I have? So I kind of want to be that source of empowerment and excitement for these kids, and I guess take a bit of a load off the parents, because parents have a huge job as it is. Like, kudos to all parents out there. That is insane, like full-time job to have while also like having a full-time job, most of them. And to be able to be this place that these parents can go, my kid's feeling really down about their chronic illness today. Go and watch Jack. Go and see this fun little silly character doing all of these fun things. Learn something and just be empowered to know that you can do stuff as well.
It's incredible. It's like what you're doing is incredible. Is the idea of it to teach kids what they're going through? Is it more as a form of entertainment for them to relate to? Like, it's all of it?
It's kind of all of it, because I think a huge thing is when you're kind of diagnosed with anything or you've gone through anything, I think people automatically, maybe not assume, but they kind of assume that you should be advocating for that thing. And not every celiac out there, or a person with, whatever mental health thing, physical, whatever it is, you don't have to be an advocate for that. And not everyone wants to be. You should be able to just have whatever illness you have and just live with it and not have to talk about it. But people need to know about it. I mean, I'm very happy from the get-go. I'm like, ask me whatever question you have, and people will go, oh, is it okay if I ask my dude, ask me anything. I will talk about all kinds of bodily fluids if you want me to, so then they can be educated. And if I can be the one out there telling people sort of the nitty-gritty, if people want to know, then that means someone else can just live their life and not have to do that.
Is there, like, when you're talking about people advocating for it, do you feel like you are, or do you feel like you're doing it through Jack?
I'm definitely doing it through Jack for kids. Like, I think there's so much medical information out there, and like Coeliac Australia is amazing for information. They're fantastic. But all of it, from what I've seen and what I've dug my little hole into, is it's all aimed at adults. And even the stuff for kids is for adults to empower kids. Kids can empower themselves. Kids are incredible. Like, anytime I work with a kid, I'm like, dude, you are so cool. Like, you have all of this imagination and you have like an attitude towards life that so many adults probably wish they could go back and have, just because they're going at life with all of their little bodies. So I want to have something for the kids to connect with. Like, they're watching TV shows and they're watching people live on stage and listening to music. So why not sort of package information in there of what is gluten and you can be yourself and all of this information and blood tests, like how to go about that, package that in a song that they can just listen to and sing along to and have fun with, but they're learning stuff at the same time. And for it to be targeted at the kid with the chronic illness, but then all of their friends, because the more that like, I've experienced this, the more that my friends know about what I'm going through and the seriousness of my celiac disease, the more that they can help me, and then we can just exist. Like, the amount of times that I'll go over to a friend's place for dinner or drinks or whatever it is, and I'm like, what can I bring? I'll bring all the gluten-free stuff. Happy to do that. And they're like, no, I'll just make everything gluten-free. So then it's easier for you. Happy to do that. And it's just so much easier for me because I'm like, sweet, I can just rock up. They're providing dinner like they normally would. I trust them. I know that they know. And if we can start that when they're little, when they're young, then these kids who have the chronic illness can grow up with, I guess, more of a trust just in other people. Because, like, living with any kind of illness, especially when it's like a food related one, whether it's a like peanut allergy or celiac disease or whatever it is, you need to tell complete strangers, kind of personal information of this like serious illness you have. And it requires a lot of trust in just strangers. Like, you go out to a restaurant and you're like, this needs to be gluten free and all of that. So I think if we can start that when they're young.
Are you ever worried, like eating in restaurants, that if you say that and then they come back and they're just having a lazy day and they go, yeah, it is, and they just serve it and they don't actually check?
I think I've developed this really strong gut feeling when somewhere's not right. Like, there's been a few places I'll walk into somewhere and I'll even like be with my partner and I'm like, I don't know about this place. And to be with people going out and eating and for them to know and trust your gut feeling as well, I think is really important. Like, I think you can be seen as fussy. I remember when I was first diagnosed, I have an older brother and we would eat anything. Like, we weren't fussy eaters. We never have been. And then we felt like we had become this family with this fussy eater when it wasn't. It was a chronic illness and you have to eat gluten-free. But I think there's this like air of, I don't know, people just think that you're being fussy, but you really need to stand up for yourself. Like, ask the questions. And if you have that funny gut feeling, don't eat it. Go somewhere else. Or, I mean, I've always got so many snacks on me just in case. But you have to just trust these people. But I think I've developed this strong gut feeling of just knowing that this waitress actually isn't listening to what I'm saying, or just severely like watching people make your food. You kind of feel like this like creepy food.
That's fair enough, but because like, do you want to explain what happens if you do eat?
Absolutely, yeah. So every celiac disease reactions are different for every person. Some people don't have symptoms at all, which for me sounds frightening because then you don't know if you've been glutened or not. For me, it is a very dramatic experience. I think it all starts with just like, I feel full really quickly for me. Get fatigued super, super fast. And then my body just has this reaction of like, get it out. So there's, I'm sick for hours and it's a lot. And I think because my body very much wants to get it out, I'm sick for a long time. Like, I've had it recently. And it is quick and it happens very fast. and then you're just feeling yuck for ages after and fatigued for a week afterwards. And your gut, because what happens when a celiac has gluten is you've got this villi in your intestines. That's what sucks in all of the nutrients. So when I was first diagnosed, I my whole family had this cold. And that's the thing with autoimmune diseases. They just get randomly triggered sometime in your life from some traumatic event or something. So this cold triggered it, and I was super pale. I had like no nutrients in my body because I was eating gluten, and it was just killing this villi in my intestines that takes in all the nutrients. And it takes 6 to 7 months for them to fully grow back and be at normal capacity, which is insane. So I got gluten like a couple weeks ago, so I'm still in that like getting back to being able to get normal nutrients, which is insane because you sort of get to a point where you're not feeling as fatigued anymore, but you're still kind of like struggling a bit. And you're like, I got gluten like ages ago. Why am I still struggling? Oh, that's right, because it's still in that amount of time where you're still getting back to full capacity.
Is it true that, like, so the gluten goes in your body has this defense mechanism that tries to kill it, but then it starts killing everything? So you're essentially just attacking yourself?
Yes. And that's the thing with autoimmune diseases, which is so weird, is that your body kind of is hating itself, which is a weird concept to kind of get around. But yeah, it's kind of like your immune system is there to battle illnesses and bad stuff in your body. And my intestines and immune system is basically thinking that gluten is some form of foreign disease of some kind that's entered in. So it's attacking the gluten, which then, like you said, is in turn then just destroying my intestines, which is just ridiculous. That it's like my immune system's supposed to be helping me, but it's really doing the opposite right now. It's like trying to like kill these vital organs in my body that I need to like function and be alive.
So you're putting all this information into Jack the Yak?
Yep.
And it's songs?
Yep.
Book?
Yep. Yeah, we've got
Other things?
Yeah, I mean I always say we, it's me. I'm doing it. I have it's such a funny, I think, artist thing to say, but I've a couple years ago now, time flies when you're having fun. Got an online program. So it's three episodes, and very much wanting to do more with these in the future. It's just finding the right time, I think, to do more episodes. And so there's an online program, Giggle and Learn is what it's called, and there's 3 episodes talking about at home, eating in a friend's house, and eating out and about. They're very fun, silly, packed with like bite-sized information, because I mean I feel like sometimes my brain is like a kid's brain and it's soaking in all this stuff, but only like in tiny little bits and pieces. There's music and live shows, which I want this year, 2025, to be a year with more live shows, because being in front of kids just fills me with like this excitement. And I love like how you're in the middle of a show and they just yell random stuff at you, and it's like heckling but in the cutest way. So hoping to do way more shows this year, because that's where I find, well, you notice the most impact. Like Giggle and Learn, you sort of don't know how many people it's reached. I know it's reaching people because we've got like free downloadable activities people can have, and people are downloading them. So obviously they're getting to the site and watching stuff, and you see the numbers, but you don't know the real impact because you're not like, hey, you watched this episode. What did you think? Did it make your kid feel better? Like, you're just not doing that. It's so weird. So yeah, but being in front of people, you get to have parents say, oh, this is fantastic. And teachers go, this should be in more schools. This should be this, and this. So
are you doing it in schools or hospitals?
So at this point, neither. The hope is to get it in schools and preschools. Schools and preschools are so like tight money-wise and capacity-wise. So they're really tricky to get into. So I'm doing, the expo, which I'm super excited about, and I'm hoping from that sparks a lot of interest down in Adelaide to get me into schools and get references and things like that. Because it's definitely wanted and needed. It's just sort of, you kind of need to get to the right person and get the right sort of facts and information in to go, here is the value written down, have me come in, or find a grant to help support it so they don't have to fully fund it themselves. So yeah, I mean, it would be fantastic in schools and in preschools to I mean, in the end of the day, like trying to package this thing is, we're talking about chronic illness, but it is really fun. Like kids can just watch this and not realize that it's about chronic illness because it's just music and reading a story and all of this like fun interactive play that they're doing all the time and would see in any other show. It's just got a bit more substance to it.
That's great. So, like, I guess you'd have to try to find someone that's writing the curriculum.
Yeah, and that's I've gone through the curriculum and I've got this, I think, this great little package that I'll be sending out this year to try and get into some places. Close to the end of the year, beginning of this year is a little bit hectic for me personally. So I think with that will be helpful to sort of be like, here is where it's hitting all the points in your curriculum and here is where it's hitting points that you're somewhat missing as well. Let me help you fill that area of there's heaps of representation and awareness of like, you know, different like family situations and race and all of that stuff. But then there's also this other huge area that's chronic illness and it's happening. And they talk about like how kids go through all of these transitions in their first few years, like going to preschool and then going to school and all of this stuff, moving and growing and all of that. And I think being diagnosed with a chronic illness is a pretty big transition for anyone, any point in their life. Like I know people who have been diagnosed recently with all kinds of stuff and they're like, whoa, it's like I've been sort of living with this for a while, but it's a huge thing once you get a diagnosis because you're actually getting treatment and medication that has side effects and all of this other stuff is happening. So yeah, sort of framing it that sort of direction of this is another huge transition, let me help.
It's one of the things too where like I'll notice it's completely different, but I sauna all the time, like 5 to 7 times a week. And if I'm traveling and don't sauna, I notice then what the sauna does. When I'm sauning, I don't realise. So it's like I can only imagine what this must feel like when people live their whole life with something and not knowing until they experience the opposite.
It is. And it's like that, like I had a friend just this week, it's beginning of the year, I don't know what day it is, and she was saying how she got a diagnosis last year and it's really hard for me to not be like, congratulations, like, because for me, it's hectic because I'm like, well, you've got this like...
Join the club.
Yeah, join the club. Welcome. It's crazy here. It's great. But I find it really hard because I'm like, I want to say congratulations because like getting a diagnosis, the right diagnosis is huge. Like it is life-changing. And I always think like I was diagnosed with a liver disease way back when I was 13. And could not get the medication right between that and between my bowel disease. And it's just all very complicated and everything was like fighting against each other. And then when I was maybe 20, I don't know, sometime in the uni years, I got a re-diagnosis of another liver disease, which was a worse diagnosis. But because of that, I've been on this medication, which like at that point when I was diagnosed with this new liver disease, primary sclerosing cholangitis, I don't know why they're so complicated. I wish they were easier to say. At that point, my doctor was like, you're probably going to need a new liver in like 20 years.
Really?
And from being diagnosed when I was so young and no fault of the doctors, like things were so complicated.
So did they get it wrong the first time or did it evolve?
They got it wrong the first time.
Shit.
So I've been on this medication all this time, and because we got it so early, like my pediatric doctor, who's fantastic, he was like, we'll put you on this medication and don't drink too much, never really have anyway, and you'll be fine. Your liver will be like healthier than your parents who, you know, drink alcohol and whatnot. And I was like, sweet, awesome, no worries, won't drink too much, never had that much interest. Like obviously I was 13, so definitely wasn't drinking then, but as I like grew up, knew that was a thing, and was like, fine, fantastic. And then to go in and have this new diagnosis of be like, oh yeah, lol, sorry, you're gonna have to get a new liver in 20 years was a huge shock. Like I was so unwell, so it was a relief in a way of having that. And there was this medication that because I saw like a liver specialist, and he was like, oh yeah, there's this medication, but I don't know, I don't really think it, I think it shows that your bloods are good, but it doesn't actually do anything. And then my specialist was like, no, it's good, we're putting you on that and you'll be fine. And I am, like, if my liver, if I stay in remission like I am now, hopefully I'll never have to go through that, because it is like, I have a friend of mine who has the same liver disease that I have, and he's been on a wait list for a couple of years, and he's so unwell. And to be like on the wait list for a transplant, you are not in a good spot. And I can just see how hard it is for him. Like, he's
How old is he?
That's a good question. He's probably maybe in his 50s. I'm going to get in trouble if that's wrong, but he's older, like he's much, much older, and he's always battled with like health in a way. And he's at this point where he's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm in my 50s. Now I'm waiting, and I think it's been a somewhat new diagnosis, and we talk a little bit because it's a bit of a rare disease. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's rare to find someone who has the same thing. So it's just hectic, and to not have to, like, me, this is very shallow of me, but the thought of having someone else's organ in me kind of freaks me out. So to not have to like go through that, let alone like the process leading up and how unwell you're going to have to be to get to that point, just like crossing everything, that I never have to go through anything like that.
Do you worry about it much?
I think I did. Like, when we got this new diagnosis, I think all of us did, like my parents and me were all like, what the heck? This is huge. We thought we were going to be fine and wouldn't have to ever think about this. But I think it's a really unique and wonderful thing to be in remission from your illnesses. Like, you're in remission, you're still going through symptoms and you still have stuff, but it just means that you're not in like a huge flare up. And I've kind of been somewhat sitting in remission for 5-6 years, maybe even more, because of this diagnosis and new medication and whatnot. And you're kind of sitting like this false sense of security in a way. Like, I really like tell people I'm in remission. How sick is this? And then end of last year, I took not a huge dive, but I took a dive and had to go back on this like steroid medication, which I hate. It is the worst. It's called prednisone. It's the worst, because it just, like, I was on that like steroid medication for all of university, and it's just awful. And I had to go back on that to control this other illness that pops its gross little head out when I'm really not well. And I think it was that realization of going, oh yeah, that's right. You kind of have to remind yourself that you're sick and you have limitations. Like, not limitations to stop me from chasing my dreams, but just like the day-to-day kind of limitations where you can't go 1000% all the time, like someone who's typically healthy, in inverted commas, someone who doesn't live with a chronic illness. You have to pace yourself more.
At what point do they do dialysis? Like, would you ever have to get that, or is that for like separate stuff?
I think that's for separate stuff. So I don't think I'd ever have to do dialysis. Yeah.
I know 2 people who have had transplants, and just watching the roller coaster of, they get a call up, we've found a match, they race to the hospital, something happens, it doesn't go ahead. Yeah. And that happens like 4 or 5 times. Yeah. Like, it's like, I have this other mate, and he has been needing, I don't think it's a transplant, but like open heart surgery. And he has always had stuff with his heart, and he was doing really great for a while, and then just like took this massive dive. And it happens really fast. Like, from my experience with my health, I mean, I'm a very stubborn human being, Jye. So I will be slowly like going downhill for a while, and I'm just like, no, I'm fine. And then there was one year where I was supposed to be having a celebration for my birthday, and we're going to go to Grilled and go and do some other stuff. And I couldn't stand up. I could not stand up. And I was like, Mum, I'm fine. I can go. Mum's like, you can't stand up to like put your pants on. You're not going. You can't go. And
from there it was like, and then I think it was like a week later I was in hospital for a week, and things just, they start to slowly snowball. And I think a lot of people with chronic illness, we're kind of used to not feeling like 100%. So when things are a little bit less than what our 100% is, we're like, oh, it's just a little like speed bump. I didn't sleep well enough, or I whatever, haven't been eating well enough, and then things just happen so quickly. And the medical industry doesn't work that fast, because there's not just organs just sitting readily available. You have to wait for, unfortunately, a lot of the time, something really sad to happen for somebody else for you to get this chance of like more life. And yeah, this guy's been just like kind of begging for this surgery, even though he's like, I never want to do that again. But he's just so unwell that you kind of get to a point of going, please, like, cut me open and do what you got to do, because I am not living the quality of life that I should be living, which sucks. Like everyone deserves like the highest quality of life, and deserves to have like fulfillment and joy, and to be comfortable and confident. And for people living with chronic illness, how it's pretty much out of your control. Like you do as much as you can, you eat well, you try to rest, you have your medication, you go and do your tests, but sometimes like stuff just happens and you can't control anything. And then when it comes to getting in to get an appointment, like some people just struggle so much to do that, and then going way back to just struggle to get the right diagnosis. I've heard so many horror stories of people being like, you're just tired, like it's just fatigue, just get some rest, or you know, it's this and it's that. It's like, I'm in pain, I'm uncomfortable, why are you not taking this more seriously? And I don't know what the core, like what the crux of that is, why that happens, but it happens too much, I think.
Before you said you're stubborn, I want to know what your mindset is around it, because like when we were filming The Promise and you had, I'm not sure if you'd call it an episode or not, but we had no idea.
Yeah.
You hit it so well.
Yes.
And you're so positive, so your energy's always up.
Yeah.
And it's lovely to be around, especially when we're filming. Them days are long, like it's incredible.
Yeah.
Are you focusing on keeping your energy high? Is that just you? Like what's your mindset around all that?
Yeah, my chronic illnesses are my problem. They shouldn't be other people's. And when I'm doing a job, I'm there to do the job. Like I do the best that I can to like look after myself. So then I try to not get so fatigued that I'm just like, I'm done. I need time. But I like to be a positive person, and I think staying upbeat is a great way to live life. And I think it comes really naturally to me to be positive and to push through and just sort of be like, I can do anything. You can't tell me I can't. And for me, it's how I've got to this point in my life of working in the arts, I think, of being able to be in a position of thinking so positively about my chronic illnesses, and to be able to talk about it and to do it as a career. But yeah, I like to be positive. I like to have fun. I like to just try to live a normal-ish life and know that, you know, it's my stuff that I'm going through, and that shouldn't have to be, I guess, a burden on other people. Like there's definitely some people like Jono, my fiance, who have to put up with it when I'm, you know, having a moment. But that's, you know, our commitment to each other, and for my parents, like that's our thing. I just don't think other people should, you know, have to worry about that. And I think it comes from a point of wanting to be seen as competent, I guess. I suppose like if I'm, and I don't know where this comes from, but if I'm at work and doing stuff, then people see like, oh, well, this is happening and she's not this, and don't want to be seen as unreliable. Not that, you know, if you're working with the right people, I don't think that they would think that, because I know that I'm good at what I do when I'm doing something. But I think that's just like a deep thing in the back of my brain going, oh, okay, well, if they go, oh, well, she's got these chronic illnesses. And remember that one time this happened. Is it worth the risk? Like, yeah.
I struggle to think people would be like that.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't know where that's coming from. And I think it's probably just a me thing of going, I guess because work in the arts is sparse. Like, to get something that is good that you can like ride with for a long time is tricky. And I want to be successful in this industry because I love it. And I'm like, if there's a point where I'm doing something else, it better be because I want to do it, not because I'm struggling to find work. And because it's such a go industry, like sometimes you have people going, this is happening, want to come and do it. You kind of have to go for it. And it is high energy, and working with kids is high energy. So, yeah, I don't know where it comes from. I think it's just this weird, like, little gremlin in the back of my brain going.
Have you always had it, or has it developed and gotten stronger?
I think it has. Like, I struggled heaps in school and I was really bad at school, just quietly.
Weren't we all?
Yeah. It's the artist's life. We can make art, but I can't do math. So I think maybe it came from that of just not thinking like part of you isn't good enough. And I think that's part of the artist drive, I think, of proving people wrong. Of, well, you think that not that I've ever had anybody tell me that I can't do stuff. Like, there's always those, you know, smaller people that pass through your life that kind of question things, but no one in my immediate life have ever gone, you can't do this, or what do you think you're doing? I've always had people believe in me. So I think it's just like a personal, just, what if you're not good enough? But I know that I'm good. So it's just like this weird contradiction in my brain of just wanting more and wanting to be better and chasing that next level thing, whatever it may be.
I think it's good because it's just drive, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just a form of drive. It just keeps you
Absolutely.
to keep motoring forward.
Yeah.
Try the next thing, take
For
more
sure.
risk. Well, like, what are your goals with the industry? Is it just Jack? Do you want to do more like feature stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I love it when opportunity comes. Like when you came to me for The Promise, I was like, sure, let's go make a movie. This sounds sick. So I love it when sort of like a random opportunity pops up and you just kind of go for it. But for me, like, my end goal is for Jack to be huge, for him to be like
The Wiggles?
Yeah, for him to be like the Wiggles Bluey kind of standard, where if someone wants to, you know, have this asset for their kid for chronic illness or this entertainment, they go to Jack the Silly-Yak and all of his friends, whoever they may be down the line. That's what I want to do. I want there to be like a TV show for him and touring shows and music and stuff like that. I want him to be, yeah, sort of like the health world's Bluey in a way is probably the best way to describe it, because I love like making stuff that makes a difference and improves lives and impacts people in a positive way. And just working with kids is just so much fun. But within all of that, I've got very much a ADD brain, so I can't just sit on one thing at once. So I think I'm excited for that to be the big thing, but then to do all these other things that feed into that keep growing my knowledge. Like working on The Promise, learnt so much from that I can go, oh, well, I can take this into doing Jack stuff and this knowledge and all of that, because I think the more that I do, and I've experienced this from back when I was doing like community theatre, the more like different jobs that I can do and different stuff that I can do, the more that I know that I can bring back into my own business and my own practice. And if that means that I'm like stage managing a show one week and then I'm performing in one and then I'm directing another or whatever it is, the more that I know as well, the more that I can feed into, okay, I've kind of been in this role before. I know how to best support my fellow whatever. If that makes sense.
Do your songs, you've got your own original songs, or are they all related to Jack?
No, yeah, I've got my own original ones too, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to pursue that much?
Yeah, I think music's always been a funny thing for me, because I love writing songs. and I know that I've got some good ones. But I never really wanted to, like, I'll go and watch, like, go and see an artist live or something and see them perform. I'm like, that looks amazing. But I don't want that to be my career. I love writing music and I love performing it and sharing it with people, but I don't think I want to pursue it as much as I want, like, working on, like, a film set and working on Jack and stuff like that and working with kids. I'd love to get the music out there because I've got all of these songs just sitting there in a songbook and recordings on my phone. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that feeds into the larger career, because if you want to be a music artist and sort of make it, I feel like you need to kind of be all in on it. And I've never been that all in on it. I do random soft, like, gigs, like, throughout high school and a little bit into uni and stuff, but it's never been something like, that's what I want. I want to perform in front of, like, thousands of people. I want to perform in front of thousands of kids with Jack, but my other music, yeah, not quite sure where it feeds in. Maybe I'll record some bits and pieces and put it out there, but yeah, I don't think it's huge or high on the to pursue list.
It's just talking about uni. I remember the first time I didn't even meet you, but I seen you.
Yeah.
I was in a class. It was a lecture.
Yeah.
It was like 200 people. It was like year one. And before it started, they said, "Oh, we've got Alex is going to come up and say a few things." I forget what you were maybe telling people about.
It's a theatre show.
Was it a theatre show?
I think it was, yeah.
I thought it was like that one of them uni programs where you used to create stuff.
Oh, was it Yak maybe? It was probably Yak.
I think it was Yak.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I remember just sitting there going, this girl is so confident.
Oh,
like, you just up there just pumping, and I was just like, bloody hell. I was sitting right up the back so I could see all the people between us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I seen you perform.
Yeah.
I seen you playing a guitar or ukulele somewhere.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think, like, uni feels like forever ago, honestly. What a blur of a time. But I think I've always had this, like, confidence in front of other people. Me in my regular life, I'll sit in the back of the room and just watch stuff. So happy to be like a fly on the wall, and social battery is quite small when it comes to just my regular life. But I love being in front of people and, like, performing and, like, telling people things and speaking. And I just, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just, I mean, I've been doing drama since I was like 7 or something. So I've always sort of been on stage, and I think before then was annoying mum and dad with, like, performances in the lounge room. So they were like, let's put her into drama so she can get some of this energy out. But yeah, I think I just love the ability to just, like, perform and create and be someone else for a little while is really fun. Like, I think when I'm performing and on stage, I'm not me, like, sitting here right now. I'm not Alex. I'm performer Alex. It's a different kind of person. And it's really fun to sort of step into that role of being someone a little bit different, a little bit more heightened, a little bit more excitable for however long that is, and to, you know, save all my confident energy for being on stage. Because I also know, like, once I'm up there. You push through. You do the show, you do the interview, you do whatever it is. Just, I guess, just get it done and not get it done and get off, but essentially, like, get it done and then move on, go do something else, and constantly be moving and searching and finding other stuff to do. So, yeah.
With Jack the Yak, you said you want to get on stages, do performances, all this stuff. I'm thinking full wiggles in the back of my head here. Do you always want to be on the stage, or do you want to be writing it and letting other people play the characters?
Yeah, I think for now, like, I find Jack the Silly-Yak is me. Like, I've got Jack, he's a character. He's not on stage yet because making a puppet of Jack is a huge thing on my list. I'm just very specific about what I want him to look like. So at this point, it's me. Like, I'll go to, like, a business function or something like that, and they'll go, Jack the Silly-Yak's here. I'm like, oh, well, my name's Alex. But yeah, essentially I'm the face of Jack in a way. Like, he's there, but I'm the one doing all the Instagram reels and whatever, because I cannot animate and don't have the specific funds to pay my animator all the time to do that. So yeah, I think one day I'm so happy to sit back and have other people perform, and for it to be a more of a like a puppet heavy kind of show. But at this point, I mean, I was saying to people a while ago, I was looking for like bits of jobs and stuff to do in Adelaide just to fill up time and pay bills. And there's all this like, it's all in the arts, but it's desk jobs and it's managing this and managing that. And I would apply for them and they would always fall through. And I'm a strong believer that everything happens for a reason. So I would sort of be like, why did this work? Why did this fall through? That's so frustrating. And then have had another opportunity pop up that's performing for sick kids, and we'll see what happens there. I'm like, I'm not ready to sit behind a desk and to do the writing and that. I'm happy to write it, but then I also want to be performing it. I want to be the person up on stage doing the thing. I'm still young. Why would I do what I could do in like 20 years time now when I can kind of do everything? If that makes sense.
What fulfills you more? Is it the performing or the writing, like the creating?
Both. I love all of it.
Yeah.
And like I love the content creation, like having a day of just like scrolling through Instagram and finding music and stuff or audio tracks and then filming those small videos. I love that. I love like the design of posts and the writing and the coming up with ideas and listening to podcasts and watching things around creativity and around celiac disease. You just learn so much. I love every aspect of it. So I think for a long time it will still be me kind of at the forefront, but one day I'll be happy to, well, I'm saying this now, might not be able to let go, but I think one day I'll be happy to, well, hopefully, I guess there's more shows happening, and when it gets to that point where there's more happening that I can't just do it on my own, I'll be able to bring other people in to help make stuff, write stuff, perform, whatever it is. But it'll be me for a while, I think.
When we were filming The Promise, I was watching you, and I felt like you wanted to create more.
Yeah, and I do, and I think like I love like a manager sort of position. I love that, because for me, I guess I'm a very like type A brain. I love organization. I love a spreadsheet. I love a clipboard with stuff on it. I love a timeline. A fiend for it. But that needs to be balanced out with creativity. Like, loved working on The Promise and having that ability to kind of like let my brain relax a little bit on the creative side, because when it comes to Jack, it's all me all the time. You probably feel that with Green Frog. It's like, if you're not doing anything, nothing happens. So you kind of have to be like, you're thinking about it all the time. So it was really nice to sort of be in a space of going, Jye's got the creativity. Bailey's got the creativity. I get to just like exist in this space and make sure things are happening when they need to happen. So I need to have the balance, definitely. I would never be able to just, I think, live in one role of just doing one thing, because it would drive me mad. I'd get bored of it, quite frankly. Even if it was Jack stuff, if it was for Jack, I would need to be doing Jack plus other things or many things within that one business, because just doing, even on holidays, I'm like,
yeah, I'm like that.
Let me get back and doing something. I can only sit around, sitting around Merriweather bars is lovely, but it gets to a point where I'm like, I need to do something. So, yeah, I need to keep busy in some way.
It's funny, like my holidays are traveling and I'm just moving. It's like work.
Yes.
I'll be in a spot for a few days or a week, and then I've got to go again. But with film, I can just keep going. I don't know what it is. I can be stuck on that for ages, and I just don't seem to get that urge. I think probably just because it's just so fast paced.
It is.
So like, although you're doing the same thing, so much is changing.
Yeah.
What was The Promise like for you? Like, what was that filming process like?
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. It was. I knew you'd ask this question, so yesterday I was like, what am I gonna say to this? I think like it was unlike any experience that I'd had before, and I'd never done anything like that before. So I remember when you messaged me of like, what are you doing for work? I was like, well, this is what I'm doing for work. why? And you're like, I've got this film, I'm going to work on it. I was like, Jye Currie's asking me to work on a film? How can I go say no to Jye Currie? What do you mean? It's hectic. And then we were talking about it, you tell me about it. And I mean, I've always loved all the majority of the theatre projects that I've done have been about talking about something important, whether it's, you know, Fort Scratchley and like the women who worked there throughout the war, or chronic illness, or whatever it is. And a film like this is so important, and the way you're selling it, I was like, well, I can't say no. I can't say. It doesn't matter what else I had planned this year, I'm doing this. And it was great. And I think something, you know, I realistically had no idea what I was doing. Like, I'd never really worked on a film set before. I'd done some short films randomly, heaps of managing in theatre, but had never done anything like that before. And I think the trust that you put into me, don't know where that came from, but the trust that you put into me, and like the whole crew's trust of Alex knows what she's doing, but then the mentorship from all of you who had been doing like stuff like this for years was so, it was just such a supportive environment for me to go, oh no, I can do this and I can ask questions. And, you know, if I do something that's not quite right, I'm not going to be like, you know, you can't do that, or, you know, be in trouble or anything. There's going to be this air of, okay, well, we can't do this because of this and whatever. It was a wild experience. Like, I just think about, you know, we kind of knew of each other, but didn't really know each other. Knew each other like through people in uni and whatnot, but hadn't met any of the other guys before. And then I'm just with these 3 dudes in like regional Queensland traveling around. And I remember my mum being like, you know, I don't think a lot of girls would just do that. But it was the trust that I had in you boys. I'm like, they're kind of like just the girls in the end of the day. Really.
And by then, I guess we'd done a fair few days of filming,
and we knew each other quite well, and got to that point where I was like, oh yeah, no, these guys are cool and whatnot. But it was amazing, like, to be able to be in a room of trust with one another, but for the people we were interviewing and everything, to be able to sit in on all of that and hear these stories that were so raw, and hang out with Craig, what a character, it was really fun. It was challenging, very challenging, but like I said, I love having experience of going, I kind of have no idea what I'm doing, but we'll figure it out. We'll be okay. Just keep pushing through and paying attention and be as organized as I can, and everything should be fine. And I think it turned out fine.
Yeah, it did. I think, like, just looking back at that now, we just jumped straight into, like, we done the Chief's interview first, and then we went straight into, I think we done Chief, Justin, and then we done the 4 people who had lost their loved ones to suicide straight up in the first 2 days.
Yep.
So it was like pretty heavy for, I guess, the crew just to jump straight into that. But I guess it also set up the whole project. We know what we're working on now. We know like the seriousness of this.
Yeah, and I think that was it. Like, well, for me from the get-go, you explained what it was, what we were doing. So there was no, like, you weren't getting hoodwinked at any point. You kind of knew, okay, I know what I'm working on. I know who we're talking to. But you did it in such, like, how can I say this? You did it in such a informative way, but also like a chill way at the same time. Like, we all knew I knew the heaviness of what we were doing, but the way that you sort of like framed it was, we're doing it this heavy, but I don't know, this isn't making sense.
No, yeah.
But in like a chill way of going like, this is super heavy, like, don't do this. And there was no sort of, I think if it was framed in that way, it would have been like, okay, can I breathe? Can I move? Like, can I look them in the eye? But as a way of like, let's just make them feel comfortable, make you guys feel comfortable. And there's ever a point that you need to step out, do that. If they need to step out, we'll do that. We're just going with what the whole room needs. We'd always talk about it afterwards, about like, everyone good and debrief and whatnot. And there was always space for us to, I guess, like, do our jobs, but also feel what we needed to feel at the same time. There was no just, yeah, we heard that, but let's just like move on. We were all in the heart of the project, which I think is why it's so successful, and like the end product just being so powerful is that all of us were like in that we were all in the heart of it the whole time.
I think that's one of the things like where we we were addressing the topic and we were going through the process of, you know, especially with the interviews, talking with these people about it and opening right up. So there's no beat around the bush, but it's just a matter of, I guess, not putting up them walls to make it feel so.
Yes.
We're sitting here talking about suicide, letting it just be a conversation, let it be real. If people cry, it's just life.
Absolutely. And it just makes it like so attainable. Like I always talk about like stuff I'm doing with Jack of I want to crack the door open. People can come in now if they want. They can peek in, have a look and come back later. They can just barge on in. But I'm just going to open the door so they know that this information's in this room and in this space. Come in if you want. And I think the promise is like it's a powerful film. And I always tell people like watch it, be in the right headspace for it, but watch it because it's super important. But it does that. I think in the way that it was made was we're cracking the door open. Like we're going in and getting the information, but making it so attainable and so I want to say easy, but that sounds like the wrong word. But easy to sort of get, and for all of us as a crew to be like, it's right here. We get to just hold this space and be here with these people to share what they want to share.
It's funny, like with B, I'd tell people, like if I'd like just having a conversation with someone, they said, "What do you do?" I make films. I've got a film on stand. B, check it out. I don't do that with the promise. I just say, my last film's a suicide prevention documentary.
Yeah.
And just say like it's on Stan. And if they want to go watch it, it's up to them because it's like as heavy as it is, I don't think it's heavy. Like I feel numb to it, obviously working on it. And I know people like I know someone that passed away the first day of filming.
Yeah.
I didn't tell anyone on set, but I know people that have like lost their lives to suicide.
Yeah, wow.
And I just kind of feel not numb to it, but it just doesn't, I don't get that emotional I don't know, that trigger. And then I hear people watching the film and saying they've had to break it up into 3 sessions.
Yeah.
Over 3 days and stuff.
Yeah.
And I find that really, I find it powerful, I guess, to know like it has that impact on people.
Oh, for sure.
And even just chatting to people and hearing what they, I had someone on the podcast just the other day and I said to him off camera, I said, what was the most important part to you? Like, what did you grab onto the most? And he said, when Wayne Bennett was saying about it, it's not about being the best, it's just about trying your best. And I just thought out of everything, like that was what he grabbed onto. And like in his own personal life, all his pressures and everything that he went through in his life was because he was trying to be the best and not just giving his best. And he was going through his own mental health battles and everything like that. And I thought that was the part. So it's just like there's something in there. Like when I hear them stories, it's crazy what people can really pull out of it or what they gravitate to. It's not just them heavy stories or it's not just the success story. It's not just like the real darker moments. It's them other lighter moments too.
Absolutely. And I think the film is, you know, talking about what it's talking about, but there are lighter moments in there. And I think that's a great thing with, you know, making movies and songs and all kinds of different art. People take what they need to take from it and they can then watch stuff multiple times and take something new from it every single time that they watch it. So they can watch The Promise and get that out of it and then go, yeah, that was great. Let me watch it again and get something else out of it. It means it's kind of like it's got so many like uses than being about suicide prevention and awareness. There's so much in that, and that's huge for a film where it's so, you know, centered around talking about suicide and talking about mental health and getting people talking about it and making the promise. For people to get all kinds of other stuff out of it too, like that's pretty cool to be able to have a film that gives so many different messages.
It's funny, like, because I'll chat to people just about other films and stuff, and we'll both talk about a particular scene in a film or the message, and they pull out something so different to what I pull out, and it's just like the writer's probably even put in something else. The director's tried to choose a fourth option, and it just keeps happening. And it's just like I think everyone's on their journey, everyone's searching for answers, and whether or not it's the intent of like that message that they put into the film or the art. They're pulling out what's relevant to them at that time in their life. Like I know I've read books and then 5 years later went back and read them and I've just pulled out complete different stuff because at one point in my life I'm going through this and the next point in my life I'm like I'm starting up a business and now everything I hear is like I'm just pinning it somehow back to like a business mindset and it's the same information. The book hasn't changed, but it was like I was searching for different answers then and you're kind of figuring it out on your own through just like this as like a tool to help you kind of just bounce.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's cool that you can, that's like the whole like who makes meaning of art. Is it the creator or is it the receiver? And it's like, well, it's everybody. Everyone will get something different out of it from their different point of views. Like someone who, like you, works on films, knows how to make a good film. You're going to watch something and get something different out of it, maybe from like a creative point of view, than someone who's never been on a film set, doesn't know the process. They'll get something maybe more out of the story. Like it depends on your experience and your background. And like I find like working with sick kids in hospital, I have so many people be like, oh my goodness, like I could never do that. And I'm in there, I'm like, they're just kids. Like I don't see them as sick kids really ever, apart from this one time there was a boy where I walked in, I was like, oh, that's right. We work with really sick kids. Like we work with kids on all kinds of like terminal to like just coming in for a broken arm, you know. But I feel like how you feel to the film, I feel like that in a way to people in hospital, because I've been there and I know what it's like, and I've sort of like considered John Hunter Hospital as like a second home sort of throughout my life, of in lots of different capacities, of being a patient to working there to volunteering there to all kinds of different stuff. But you get to a point of going, oh, well, I can see this in a different way than it being this super sad, like this person's really unwell. It's like, yeah, but they're also just a human being. So let's just treat them as that. But it depends on your previous experience. If that's the first time you're setting foot in a children's hospital and you're the parent of the sick kid, of course you're going to see that differently to someone who's there all the time in such a different capacity.
I think it's one of them things where like, and they don't want to be spoken to or reacted like that. I know even if you just miss like an event or you come late, you just want to remember like, oh, hey, he's here.
Yeah.
You don't want to be, oh, and what was earlier and like all the bullshit that comes with it. I can only imagine like them kids just want to be just treated like other kids.
Absolutely. And they're missing out on like huge stuff in their life. Like there's some kids that practically live in hospital, which is insane. And like there was this one time we threw this like birthday party for like a teenager who really couldn't care less about a whole part of things in life, but they're missing out on like their 13th birthday out in the real world where everyone else is celebrating turning 13. They're missing out on so much, and you do just want to be treated as a normal person. Like I'll have people be like, oh, like I don't get it as much these days. I think maybe it's the way that I talk about it, but you would have people going, oh man, like got all these illnesses and I feel so bad for you. It's like, don't feel bad for me. No, I feel bad that you feel bad for me. And like,
and then you're there supporting them.
I'm like, oh no, it's okay. I'm really fine. It's like, wait a second. This doesn't make any sense. So I think it's, people just want to be treated as normal human beings, especially kids, like who don't really understand what's going on. Like, well, why are you feeling sorry for me? Because I'm fine, or whatever it is. I think it's a funny world when there's other things going on. It's not just like chronic illness. You could have, gone through like losing somebody close to you and everyone treats you a little bit differently, or whatever it is. People, and it comes from like a nice place. It comes from a place of care and thought, but sometimes you're like, just like, leave me alone. I'm fine. I'm okay. Which maybe is why I kind of come from that point of going, don't show anybody, kind of like just keep moving forward, because you don't want people to feel bad for you. It's like, well, I don't feel bad for myself. I'm doing okay. I'm living a regular, normal life. Just got this other stuff going on. Everyone's got something.
Yeah. Not normal. You're doing incredible stuff.
Thank you so much.
The work you're doing is incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time to come up, sit down and do this.
Thanks for having me. Been
Thank
fun.
you.
Fun
Thanks,
chatting.
Alex.